Star of the Mighty Ducks trilogy from the 90s, Matt Doherty. How are you doing this afternoon, sir?
Shoot, star 1990s. No, I was doing better until you said until you gave a number like that.
Honestly,
I'm doing great because I see you have a is that a Chiefs is in Slapshot jersey behind you? No.
no, that's actually Zero Pucks Given actually focuses on the Chelmsford Chieftains, which is in the UK semi-pro ranks.
Oh wow.
And this is two of our jerseys behind me here.
Oh, that's amazing, man. Well, because
So
it totally made me think of the I don't know, arguably I can't I mean it's apples and oranges, but one of the best films, let alone hockey films of all time being Slapshot. So
yeah,
hmm.
but honestly, I
Nice
can't
hat,
express.
by the way. Nice hat.
Well, you know what? I'm a Leafs fan, but I did visit Anaheim in around '95 when that had all just kind of started and kicked off. So I've always had a soft spot from the films as well for the Ducks.
Can
Um,
we stop and talk about the fact that you're a Leafs fan? That means you must like a very cruel form of self-punishment.
yeah, and unfortunately, because that was the first ice hockey I actually went to see. I was in Toronto 2002, went to see it and loved it. But yeah, now I'm stuck with this years and years of hurt.
I remember when I did between Ducks 1 and 2, I did a movie called So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is a cult classic with Mike Myers. And if no one's ever seen it, you should see it. It's really good. But Mike Myers is a huge Leafs fan. And so we would take rollerblade hockey breaks. He was always in that Maple Leafs jersey.
Yeah. No, I was say honestly, I can't honestly express how grateful I am that you've come to join us on the podcast. So I thought I'd get my Ducks hat out especially for it. But and I'm going to endeavour to not bore you with questions that I'm sure you've answered thousands of times. But so we've tried to be a little bit more creative. We've had some questions from our listeners as well, some of our Chelmsford Chieftains fans, and we'll see how we go, sir. So let's start all with acting. You were a child actor, and a few cameo roles before the Mighty Ducks. I'm a bit of a film nerd. I think I actually managed to spot you in Home Alone.
Whoa, boy. Then you must have a magnifying glass, man.
But how did you get into acting?
Happenstance, fate, whatever, however you subscribe on that. I just, I mean, I had a manager many, many years who was a dear colleague and friend of mine who once said about me that she said the industry kind of picked me rather than I picking it, and I think that was an actual accurate. And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's probably pretty true. Because if you look back, I was just 9, 10 years old. Nobody in my family um, did this by any means. There were a couple like hippie guitar playing folkin' people. There was like a collection of comedy records that I used to listen to when I was a kid. Like I would stay home from school to listen to Richard Pryor, like when I was like 9. So, like I'd pretend to be sick. So there were like, I had the cool uncle who had the like record collection, and I had a brother who was 5 years, 6 years, 5.5 years older than me, and who did a play. And I think, brothers, I don't know if you got brothers, you just get competitive. You're like, I see him up there.
Yeah.
He's cool. He's making the kids laugh. And I'm like, I could do that. So I think that's really what got me into the bit. And then there was like a thing in the newspaper that said, hey, audition in Chicago for a movie. And it was with Gary Marshall directing, the great Gary Marshall, who did so many things like him and his sister Penny Marshall were the some of the greatest comedic directors of all time, and they were doing a movie with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn called Overboard,
Yeah.
and they wanted redheads, and it was in Chicago. So I convinced my mom, which didn't take a lot of convincing, to go to this audition. I don't know where this comes from, right? Just because first of all, I read the newspaper. That was weird, and then and then and then she's like, okay, I'll go. And the only reason she said we'll go was because her best friend, Linda Everett, who's passed away now, they wanted to go shopping. so, so we went down with them so they could go to the mall, because there was this big mall in Chicago right on, they call it the Miracle Mile. And it's like a big deal. because it's like where all the rich people shop and stuff. And do you say bless you when your husky sneezes? I think you do. So my dog
Oh,
just sneezed. And bless you, buddy. And so yeah, we went down there, and then and I think they thought I'd be there for 30 seconds, and we there. Of course, you waited forever, and then they kept calling me back, and then I stayed, and then I came back the next day, and I met the director, Gary Marshall, and he's like, "You're a funny kid. Get an agent." And I didn't get the job. It's just like everything in Hollywood. You get like close, and then but something else happens. And so we looked up in the phone book and got an agent, and I booked my very first commercial. And then my second audition was Home Alone. My third audition was the Mickey Mouse Club, and I was like screen testing for that. It was just kind of like, I was like close to the Mickey Mouse Club. My whole generation were like, how many people my age were in the Mickey Mouse Club? Like Ryan Gosling and so many. And yeah. And then
so
it just kind of happened.
was auditioning for the Mickey Mouse Club, did that kind of get you in the Disney affinity to get the role of Mighty Ducks?
I mean, I don't know. Does the mouse keep tabs on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll bet you the mouse, that little
I
Mickey
bet he keeps them in his pocket.
keeps tabs on all that stuff, because he's like, can he have an edge? Can he have an edge? No, I mean, the Ducks thing just showed up because, I mean, nobody knows. I mean, we didn't know we were making a thing that would make the hat, right?
Yeah.
That you're wearing right now. You know, Ben, it was like we were just making this, the way I understand it, because one of my mentors was the producer of that film and is Jordan Kerner. And I talked to Jordan a little while ago. We get together every once in a while and just stay connected. And I guess that movie moved at such a speed that everything about it was like a miracle, because usually things take forever to get made. And that one just blasted off. And everything about it just had that like thing, that energy. And Emilio Estevez at that moment was like the biggest star in Hollywood, right? And he wanted to do a movie that his kids were our age, right? A little younger,
Yeah.
that his kids could see. And then I don't think we knew. Evidently, the people in charge of Disney might have known, because they were interested in buying a hockey franchise, but we didn't know, you know.
Oh, so that's like where that eggshell from, right? That's amazing. Did you like hockey before the film?
I liked hockey. I was not at all very good at it, which is very evidenced in the first movie. I lied to get the part, like any good self-respecting actor. You lie to get a
Of
to get a
course,
job,
yeah. Then you
and
figure it
then
out
and then
later.
you figure it out later, right? Totally. Which has always gotten me into trouble. And it was and they had hockey camp, right? I don't know if you've heard this before, but we all went to. They had built in 6 weeks of hockey camp. And I was actually just up in Minnesota, and I hear that rink is still there, and I really love to see it. That's where I learned to play. You know,
Yeah.
this place called Parade Ice Arena in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we used it for like all 3 movies. Parade Ice Arena was just set dressed. You could see it if you watch them all. You're like, that's the same ice hockey rink, man.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Was there anyone working on the film that you'd worked with before and you knew? So was it
No,
like a cut? So
no, man.
everyone was fresh.
We were all like, there was a national talent search, which is just like they did that back then, you know, and I think they wanted non-Hollywood kids, right? So most of us, I mean, we had several from New Jersey, a couple Canadians. Josh was from Vancouver, right? We had, you know, then you zoom that out, you got Ducks too, you got people from Texas, and so it was just no, I just remember going to Minnesota for the screen test on an airplane from Chicago, and I had auditioned for Fulton, which was crazy. This little dude. And then I was in the room at the screen test, and they were like, they gave me Averman, and I made them laugh, and then like I got on the airplane, and by the time I got back, I had the job, and none of us knew each other, but now we're like lifelong friends, you know?
Yeah, I read that you did read for Fulton Reed, and then we're given Averman.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I'm not very big, dude. You know?
I also read, obviously, because I mean, the gentleman playing Fulton Reed and Guy Germain, they're actually brothers, aren't
They're
they?
real,
Life.
they're brothers. Yeah.
So that sort of little name change so that they didn't look like they were brothers. But and both of them have been huge fans of both of their work as they've gone through their careers. So was it a big, like a stepping stone for them? Because I know you've obviously something that I'll jump to it because I've got it here later on. When you did D3 with the incredible Jeffrey Nordling, I believe he gave you some advice that set you up for the rest of your career, really, didn't it?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Wow, you did the research. Yeah, Jeff is a dear lifelong friend, and yeah, he said he would see me reading shit, and I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have swore. He'd see me like reading Arthur Miller and reading like I was reading the life, like the biography of one of the great American playwrights, and he's like, again, like just signaling to the world what I probably want to do and be, and like and he's just like, hey man, he had gone to theater school, and he says, you're an artist, yeah, you should probably go to school and learn that. I think he spotted like what it meant. I don't know. Child actor stuff is hard, and then you there's this chasm when you're not this cute kid anymore, and a lot of people fall into that hole, right? I know I was circling around the event horizon of that black hole for a while, and so yeah, I think that probably saved my life in many ways. One, it took me out of the ring, and I got to go to school, and I got to learn what I do. And it just changed my life. So like the Ducks changed my life in so many ways. It changed it when I was doing Ducks 1, and it changed it there, and yeah, I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah, it's so someone looks up because recently I understand you'd written a play.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Jeffrey starred in it for you.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, we're in the process of shopping it around. We have dreams of actually doing it in England and London and on the West End, and I'd love to see it done around in Ireland. I'd love to see it done in various theaters across the country, but those things are out of my hands. All I could do is just launch the play, right? And
yeah.
But we're in the process of like trying to find another theater to kind of ramp it up to the next step. And then I just keep writing. I write other stuff, and then I act whenever the phone rings, or I keep it where I'm like I've been doing it so long that and I've had so many different experiences that I'm happier when I just something shows up and I don't depend on it, and then I'm like, hey, this is cool, I want to do this, and because otherwise it can be really, it's weird. I mean, I've been doing this thing for 40 years, man. Almost 40 years, which is crazy. 37 years, something like that.
But there's no pressure, like you say. If you just do it when you fancy it, you're not under the pressure to do it when you need to do it, are you? So,
yeah. Because I think if there's anything I would say to anyone who's wanting to do creative stuff, you have to love it, because it's such a, you so rarely get to do the thing. It's like ice time, man. It's the same thing as ice time. It's like ice time's you fight for ice time, right? And I play in a men's league, and you gotta really love that, because there's a lot, especially there's a lot around it. It costs money. There's a little recovery time. You gotta really love to play hockey.
Yeah, I mean, even our Chelmsford Chieftains, they're our main team out of Chelmsford, and their training sessions are like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday and Thursday night till midnight.
Exactly. That's when I play.
That's the ice time they can get, and they're the main team. So it's ice time is a massive struggle in this country. I think there's actually only less than 30 ice rinks in this country in total.
Oh man, I would love to see the UK hockey scene. That would be so cool to see what it. Yeah,
I think a lot are pleasantly surprised actually when a lot of the people come over from the States. We've had a few players. We've got rules here in our leagues on imported players, how many you can have in a roster and whatnot, to try and keep it as British as possible. That's not the case in the professional league over here. I think in a roster of 20, you're allowed 15 that are foreign. So,
and a lot of them people coming from like Finland and Sweden and Czechoslovakia and Russia and Germany and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of Europeans. There's a lot of Canadians as well. The Belfast Giants, one of the professional teams over here, they've got a lot of Canadians. Adam Keefe is actually their coach.
So the Belfast Giants, they didn't quite go with the that's a real like light Fenian thing, you know?
Yeah,
because of the Giants, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
So Sheldon Keefe's brother Adam Keefe is their coach.
Oh no way, really?
Yeah, and
Oh
I did
man.
have previously. I had on the podcast. I had Sean McMorrow, who played NHL for the Sabres, AHL for the Rochester Americans, and then he played over here for Belfast and Dundee.
Wow.
A little bit. So, and he's Canadian. So that was fantastic.
I'll bet you a hockey game in Belfast is an experience. That would be wild. I remember I was watching an EPL match. It was an early Champions League match going, and I was watching my Tottenham, because speaking of Maple Leafs, just because of the pain of being a Tottenham fan, and then I backed that up with the pain of being a Leeds fan. So it's like
you do both.
Oh, it's like, because I'm a White Sox guy. It's opening day, so
Yeah.
I'm wearing my Chicago, colors, and and it's a. But I saw my guy Matt Doherty, who's now playing. I think he's playing in Italy again, or is he playing in Spain?
Spain, Atletico
Madrid. Playing in Spain. That's right. He's playing in Spain. He's playing at Atletico, yeah. And in the pub, they were doing the chants, and they did the Doherty chant, which I didn't know I had one. And it was Matt Doherty, he knows where you live. I just couldn't stop laughing.
I've got that down here actually. That I've seen you're a fan of football over here.
Oh, huge!
How did that come about?
It's pre Ted Lasso, man. It's pre Ted Lasso.
Pre Ted Lasso.
I think I had a dear friend. I have a buddy who grew up in all over the world, and his cousin convinced him to be an Arsenal fan when he was a kid, and so he's a Gunner guy, and we would watch a couple of Arsenal matches, and he taught me how to watch it. And before then, when I lived in Europe, I lived in Sweden for a little while. I'd watch the World Cup, and so I was taught how to watch it. And I think something happened when I watched one World Cup. I think that's usually the gateway drug for us, right? Yeah. I just got it. I got it, and I was like, oh. And I remembered having a theater professor many, many years ago that said, when we were learning, because I love the history of theater, and back in the day, like way back in the day when it was invented in Greece, it had that atmosphere. It had that, like somebody said, if you were to watch a Greek play in its original origin, it's like going to a professional soccer match.
Yeah.
And
supporting Tottenham's more like a Greek tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, man. yeah. What is I love the John Oliver thing. It's like they set you up, and then they just take you down, and
I did. Obviously, we've been speaking for a month or so, getting this organised. That former Chelsea and Arsenal goalkeeper Petr Cech is one of the Chelmsford Chieftains netminders.
So, wow, man!
He enjoyed hockey growing up in the Czech Republic, but played football because it was more affordable.
And now he's a netminder for the Chieftains.
Yeah. Wow. After he finished playing football, he started playing for Guildford Phoenix, which are the league below Chelmsford. I think it's because it's quite close to where he lives, just outside of London. And then this season he signed for us, and he's brilliant. I mean, his reaction time is just incredible.
I love that you call them netminders. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
When we've adopted this American sport, we take all of the terms that go with it as well.
Yeah, that's great. He's a netminder. I got to go do a thing at the Minnesota Wild last weekend, and I got to be up there, and they had a Mighty Ducks day, and I was again just not even surprised, more like I get surprised, but then what an important deal this is all over the world. Like here, and I got to meet some people who actually skated with us when we were kids. And they dropped off photos. They were actually part of the Hawks team, the bad guys, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And I looked at them, and they were like in their 50s, and I was like, geez, man. And then they had some photos from the shoot they wanted to drop off, and then we did the game, and I got to chirp with the players a little bit, and I was shocked. There was this dude from Sweden who I was talking with before the game, who plays for the Minnesota Wild, and I think it was Gus. Was it Gustafson? They're one of their netminers, their goalkeepers, and like he knew that because I had a Banks jersey on and not an Averman jersey, and
Yeah.
this kid was 25, 26 years old, and he knew it, and it reminded me just how big the thing is meant to the sport. Like I forget, like I've actually met NHL players who literally are like they play because of this movie.
Mm.
And I remember having a conversation with a couple of people that actually worked for the Anaheim Ducks who were broadcasters and stuff, and they reminded me that like it changed the game because at the time before Ducks came into the NHL and we did the thing, the NHL was like this, like we've always had this bruiser energy, but like hockey had this, like you could smoke at the rink, you know. So Disney
Yeah.
brought it's like, hey, it's okay to, bring your kids and stuff. And I guess it evidently changed the game, you
It
know.
is marketed in the UK as the family-friendly sport, and it really is.
Totally.
It really is. And I mean, it's me and my daughter who's 13.
Does she play?
No, she can't skate, but I think she's got the energy. She was going to turn over into amateur boxing
Mm-hmm.
just before COVID, and then COVID put paid to all of it. Because she's got a lot of ability where that's concerned. But yeah, we go to hockey. We love it. She loves the fights because that still
Oh yeah.
happens a fair bit over here. And yeah, it is marketed as the family-friendly sport, and especially in the semi-pro ranks in the UK, there's a lot of families that do sort of come and watch it together because it's an incredibly good value night out.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the documentary about the Galinde, New Jersey family that has the minor league hockey team that
The Danbury Trashers.
yes.
Yeah, I did discuss this with Sean McMorrow because he's had AJ Galante, who was the GM, on his
Yeah,
podcast,
I've
podcast.
connected with AJ, and because somebody told me to watch this thing, one of my good buddies,
Yeah,
and he's like, you got to watch this thing, and so I somehow tracked AJ down. I went to the filmmaker on Instagram, kind of like how you and I connected,
yeah,
and I said, dude, is this really what he got out of the movie? so I get this guy on the phone and AJ, and we immediately started laughing because I was like, are you serious? This is really what you got out of the movie was the I got the Bash Brother thing, I guess that's what he got. But
yeah,
yeah, he's a character, man.
yeah. I mean, that's Untold Crime and Punishment.
Untold Crime and
Um,
Punishment.
yeah, so if anyone's not seen that yet, get on Netflix to see it. It's probably the best hockey documentary that's ever been made.
I would agree with you on that, actually. Yeah.
It's a real eye opener. So obviously after finishing D1, which, as you say, I think blew up Pee Wee hockey in the US and made it, and Canada probably as well, made it incredibly popular. Then came D2, which I think was the one that globally exploded ice hockey for young people,
Yeah.
and especially in this country. It's one of our listeners who's got a question for you later. She makes handmade cardboard signs that she puts on the plexiglass at the hockey, and she did one that said D1, D2, D3, and every player had to go past and punch which one was his favourite Ducks film.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
and
I would love to see a photo of that.
yeah, D2 was by far the winner.
I mean, no, I don't think any of us knew what we were doing. Like I said earlier, like I don't think we knew what we were doing. I mean, all I know is my memories of making Ducks 2 were just they were all special. Like Ducks 1 was special because my dad was there with me, and he had just lost his job. It was a really hard time, and like so they had a special place in my heart because it's the first time I was on a movie set. It was a cold Minnesota, for like a long period of time. I'd been on movie sets for like a couple of days, but like with Ducks 2 is special because of what you just said. I mean, I got to meet Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I got to meet Michael J. Fox. I got to meet Wayne Gretzky, uh, um, uh, Greg Louganis, who at the time was like the first athlete to ever, come out, right?
Mm.
Christy Yamaguchi, and he's like, I mean, it was incredible. Um, it was just an incredible. And I got to meet Catherine Irby, who was a company member at the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. And again, it was like this little bit of, hey, why don't you come to the Steppenwolf? And I got to go backstage and see Gary Sinise, and like all these things just changed my life. And that's where we really got good at hockey. And that's where, we shot at the pond when it was called the pond before it
Yeah.
was even open. Like, I remember when we went down there to the Honda Center, Jordan Kerner was talking to the president. And he's like, yeah, my office used to be right over there. Cause he had like, I was like, that's an OG move. That's like he's like, yeah, my office is right over there. And then, our coach, Jack White, who taught us all how to play. And I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because I love it. When we were shooting the big sequences, that, where the whole place was packed with like 14, 15,000 people. He made sure that cameras all over. It was a big deal, right? And then he made sure we got the scrimmage in front of all that. And I remember I scored a goal against Team Eastland, right? And in front of all those people. And like, I don't think I've ever felt. I was like, oh, if this is what these guys feel when they're on, like, oh my God, when you hear this place erupt. And then we all tackled each other and fell into a pile. And then I found out later that the coach like totally bribed all of them, that they all were taking dives. The goalie like kind of dove the other way, right? So I mean, that was a wild couple of days.
I mean, as you said earlier, then it was clearly Disney's plan that they were looking for a hockey franchise, and they did this with in Anaheim, and they got the Ducks. Are you guys eternal guests of honor if you ever want to go down to what is now the Honda Center?
I mean, I know that the ownership changed, so I think for a while they tried to distance themselves from Disney and have their own thing. And then I think over time, which makes perfect sense, but I think over time it started to really become a thing again. And I've gotten to go down there several times, and I'm interested in, because they actually do work in the community, because a lot of, just like EPL, like a football club in Europe, there's a community thing, right? And that exists with a lot of sports, but it really exists with hockey here in our country. And so it's like, so I was really interested in that. And then I got to go to then they had the Stanley Cup run when Team Solani and Paul Correa, when they had that incredible squad. That was crazy. But so I guess I could probably call up right now and get tickets, but you don't want to abuse that,
No, of course. But like you say, with them trying to distance themselves from it, I don't think the fans will sort of let that happen, even though, like, the change of logo didn't go down particularly well. And even now, when they do like their reverse retro, it's got the original Duck logo on it, which that everyone loves to see. And then obviously Adidas released some jerseys last year because it was the 30th anniversary of the first film.
Oh yeah, so those are great jerseys. I have one. Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But I always said it says something about you if you bought the Hawks one.
Yeah.
It says a lot about you as a person if you bought that one and not the Ducks one.
You're the kind of person that likes to drive a hearse. Yeah. Totally. Totally.
But, so I'll go from D2 to D3, and I'll talk about it like in real life terms, I suppose. The Ducks got scholarships to a prep school. There's people I know that love the Ducks that don't even know there's a D3, so they can sort of find that on their own. And you got a new coach, which was obviously Jeffrey Nordlin. But what was that filming experience like? Did it get easier each time?
Oh yeah, I mean, we were obnoxious too. I mean, we were all like, I mean, like, yeah, hey, we've done too. We were. Well, I'm not really. We were a little obnoxious, and but it was. I mean, you read the script, you're like, we just were champions of the world, and now we're trying to be varsity. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. But I love the life lessons in Duckstry about what it means about playing defense and growing up. So but that movie has a lot of special meaning because also like we were like in the country in rural Minnesota a lot of that for that, and it was just gorgeous, and it was summertime, thank God. And you know, I was about ready to go to college, which was crazy. And and it was like a time where my brother and I were together. So that's what I always think of with that one. And you know, and then my friendships with like Sean and Mike Vitar and the magic time that we got to hang and um yeah, it was really fond memories.
Yeah.
Keenan, you know, the great Keenan Thompson who
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we all used to just sit around and make each other laugh, you know.
Pre Keenan and Kel, I suppose that was as well, wasn't it? So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that was that must have been quite a big deal for him to swap from Disney to Nickelodeon. That's almost like leaving Tottenham and going to Arsenal.
That's exactly what that's like. Or yeah, that's because they're a little like that. And Danny Tamborelli did that too at Ducks One. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a few questions from our listeners here, if you don't mind.
Great.
Question from Drew Hill. It said, how did you find working on sets as a child?
The best ones were when, you know, where they just let you be a kid, you know. It's so funny. We just did the Game Changers episode
Yeah.
up in Minnesota or in Canada during the COVID times. It was awful, weird, really weird. And all those kids were skating around and they were trying to get them all together. And I looked at it as an adult and I was like, oh my God, we must have been really difficult. I was like, you know, oh, because all you want to do is play, you know? So you put kids on skates and give them a stick, and then you put really expensive equipment
Yeah.
all on the rink, and then you have a lot of downtime. That's a recipe for a lot of insurance payments, right? And they used to give us these rubber pucks to like, you know, like like it's like methadone for a heroin addict. Like here, you know, like who wants to play with a rubber puck, you know? And a little sponge guy, right? And but I remember the fun. The best leaders and the best directors are the ones who knew how to embrace the fun. But also like you're a kid and you're pretending to be an adult and it's weird. It's just it's a strange environment, you know, to grow up in.
Yeah, I suppose you almost lose a part of your childhood.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. A question from Arista. How many Ducks jerseys do you have?
I give a lot away to my friends and stuff when I like I get them.
Yeah.
Because I don't hoard that. I if I get like if somebody gives me one, I'll often like just give it to somebody that's close to me. I have a couple. I've hung on to my original Ducks 2 one. I never got my original Ducks 1 because they locked all that stuff away in that like vault, and I wasn't smart enough to know that I could steal it because I come from like lower, you know, like Midwest, which in America it's like kind of like a steel town, and
Yeah.
so you just don't do that, you know. You don't steal that. But like by the time Ducks 2 and 3 were around, I was like stealing that stuff, and I wish I would have had my first jersey.
Yeah. Well, the second part of her question was, would you be able to donate one?
If I ever get one and I find a next one, I'll make a note of that.
I will send you a stamped addressed package. Question for Ange Gatland. Ange Gatland. What is your preference? D1, D2, D3?
Oh, that's a great question. I think in terms of watching, I still feel Ducks 1 is the best, like structurally, like as a screenwriter, like that's a great. I mean, that's the best. In terms of just pure fun watching, Ducks 2 is ridiculous. But in terms of the making, even though Ducks 2 had all those incredible experiences and I got to meet Wayne Gretzky, I still go to Ducks 1 because it was we just didn't know what we were doing, man. We did not know. Everything was so like I am on a movie set, you know?
Yeah. She's also asked, do you still play? Do you
Oh
play a
yeah,
bit?
yeah.
You play a bit of beer league or something?
I do play in a beer league, yeah. I got fired from my from my squad because even though I scored like 5 goals and a bunch of assists, and I literally, the GM's like, we don't have a spot for it. I was like, I got released from like the kiddie pool like team. But the truth was one of the like founding members of the squad had a couple of kids during COVID and finally could play again. So I was a new guy, and so I got booted. But you can totally blacklist the ex-presidents. So no, that's the name of the team. Yeah, so I'm gonna, and I actually play where I actually played for Ducks too. It says I live in Los Angeles, and when we shot out here in LA, there's a place called Pickwick Ice Arena where we shot a lot at, and so I actually play there sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Sophia Gatland has asked, who was the best skater or player in the cast?
Well, it's different. Hockey has different skill sets. I was the best grinder. I will freely admit on that one. I remember Jack White gave me the grinder like captain thing because I never gave up. Like I was the grinder, right? And I think Brandon, Jesse Hall, it would be him, me, Garrett, who played Guy, Vinny, who played Banks, Justin, who played Kenny Woo. That would be my line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there any that you thought perhaps could have actually gone at a decent level?
Well, I think Garrett played college hockey. Vinny, I got Vinny to start playing again, which I was really, when I saw him last.
Yeah, because you was in Minnesota together, weren't you?
Yeah. He's back playing, and he's like, it's awful. I go, yeah, you'll get used to it. It's great.
Yeah.
So I was good. I had a college scholarship to play, but I turned it down, and I was like, I would rather go to Northwestern, and then I started smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day for like 10 years, and so that would not have lined up. I think I would say the best, even though Justin is the smallest, like he was great. Yeah. And Josh, I forget. Josh is a great player, and he still plays too. Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Oh, yeah.
So Georgia has asked, could you skate before the film?
No, that was, like I said
Is
earlier.
Is this what you lied about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not even an ankle bender. I was like Bambi, man. You just fell down.
She's got another couple here. This question I really like, actually. I'm looking forward to the answer. What was your favourite line or scene that Averman had?
I mean, the Humbatter thing is always the first that comes to mind, you know? And I think I'm actually partial to they're bigger, they're stronger, they have more facial hair.
Is this why you have a beard now?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Now we can.
I grew my hair out when we were doing the play, and I didn't want to mess with it after. I'm like, it was bringing me good mojo. I got to let it go. We're going so I got to let it be now. So yeah.
Well, I have the beard because I have nothing else. So,
there you go. That's it.
So I just stick with the beard. And do you support any of the NHL ice hockey teams?
Well, I'm a little freelancer on it all. Like I of course love the Ducks. I grew up a Blackhawks fan, but it's been tough to be a Blackhawk fan. I won't lie. And I have to say, probably just because I just met all the players and we were laughing, and I made fun of them, and then they just had that great game, and they've been on a tear, and they're like kind of underdoggy. I'm going to cheer for the Minnesota Wild this year for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I like their heart. They play old school hockey. They do all those millions of little things that no one keeps track of, and they do it right. Neutral zone play, back checking, forechecking. Like their defense, they're built for the playoffs.
Excellent stuff. My daughter Jocelyn has asked, do you have a current favourite player in the NHL?
I mean, isn't Jaromir Jagr still playing somewhere in his 60s? No, I would say no one's better than him because of the fact that he played the sport for as long as he did, right?
Yeah.
That's a really great question. I mean, how do you not love Connor McDavid? He's a magician.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few in there. For even as from a neutral point of view, McDavid, Ovechkin.
I mean, how do you not like Ovechkin? But even though he's, so
Yeah. Right, lovely. I have now got something that we do with our Chieftains players called Chiefs Briefs. So it's either or questions, and just as quick as you can, give the first answer that comes to your mind. So I'm just going to pull one up here. Right then. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi,
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation,
Netflix or Prime?
Netflix,
Beach holiday or staycation?
neither.
Neither. Oh dear. Hot or cold?
Cold.
Ice rink or football stadium?
Ice rink. Oh, you mean like football is in your football?
Oh, sorry, a soccer stadium.
Oh, damn. Oh, both. I can't answer that. Don't do that to me. You know what? I'm gonna say it. Probably because I've never been to an EPL match and I can't wait to go. I'm gonna say football stadium. So
Oh, Minnesota or Chicago?
Chicago.
Perfect, sir. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Those are good.
We've got one that we do with our players because we've got two identical twin brothers that play.
Oh,
So
that's like the Hanson brothers.
Yeah, so we give their names out, and the players have to choose which one. It gets quite uncomfortable.
Oh, that's great.
But if you do ever get over here for an EPL game, Chelmsford is literally 40 minutes outside of London.
Oh,
So
nice.
we would love
North, west, east, south,
East.
where? East.
East.
Mm-hmm.
East, yeah. So we'd love to welcome you for a Chelmsford Chieftains game if you were in the country at any time.
How about that? If I do make it over there, I will absolutely. That is a given, no brainer.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, I appreciate you making the time, Ben, and this was a lot of fun. I don't normally do these, but this one felt like I had to do this. I was like,
Yeah, I honestly felt truly honoured when you said you don't normally do it. I didn't hound you as such, but there was a few people that I really wanted to talk to when I started doing this podcast. And as much as I love the Mighty Ducks, you were my favourite character in the
good.
Mighty Ducks.
You must have really must have a real low opinion of yourself. So it's great.
Matt
All right.
Doherty,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time, sir.
My pleasure, Ben.
And have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right, back at you, dude. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.